Techies, this is episode 5 of the Java Discord bot tutorial series, and in this episode we're going to be going over embeds. Now before we begin, I'd like to make a quick correction to the command manager that we did last episode. So before, what we were doing is we're just always adding the command and then adding the options you get from the get options method, but if we don't want any options we would just want to leave it as null. Now what this would do is throw in exceptions. What I've done is I've just added a quick if else statement here. If the command options is null, then we just do it without adding any options, and then if it isn't, if anything else, we're just going to add the options. So this is just a quick fix to the command manager. Obviously, if you're not using this command manager and you're using a different one, then either make sure this is you've got something like this in your command manager, or something similar. So this episode we're going to be going over embeds. Now an embed is something like this, where you have this sort of box and it has a title, a description, some fields, also a footer, a color, and there's a bunch of other stuff you can do with embeds. This is just a quick example one that I just threw together quickly before this tutorial. Now for this I've set up a command. You should know how to do this already, either using our command manager or whatever command manager you're using, and then I have just registered it in the manager. So I've created the command, I haven't added any, I've just give it the name embed, and I've just given it a quick description. It doesn't have any options, and I haven't put anything in the execute at the moment, so it's just a blank command. So the execute is what we're going to be doing now. So in this execute method we are going to need something called an embed builder. So we're going to create an instance of this, and so obviously this is how we build our embeds. So if you do builder and then dot in IntelliJ, you'll see that there's a lot of methods you can use. Set title, set description, add field, set footer, set color, all of this. And there's a clear even if you want to clear it, and you can do a whole lot of stuff with this. So firstly I'm going to set the title, and I'm going to set it to an example embed. So this, obviously, that the title is this big bit in bold here. Now to actually send an embed you have to do event dot, rather than just doing reply, we're going to do reply embeds, and then we're going to send in the builder, and we're going to have to do dot build, and obviously just like any replying we have to queue it. So if I was to run this now, our embed command would give us, well, a blank embed with a title. So if I do embed like this, you can see it's done example embed. Now obviously you're not going to just want this, you're going to want a lot more, so obviously you just use all the methods. So builder dot set description, say. So things like set title and set description, obviously there's only one title and one description and one footer and one color, so they're all going to be set, so we can set the description. So I'm going to set it to an example embed. But obviously for fields, they can have, as you saw here, they can have multiple fields. So I'm going to do builder.set, I'm going to not set add fields. So now I'm just going to call it field 1. So that bit's the name or the title of the embed, of the field. That's this bit in bold, and then the value is this bit here. So we can just put a comma and we can put in the value. So it's another string value. I'm just going to call this value to make it simpler. And then we have something called inline. So inline is, if for this example, inline was set to false. So inline is whether it has fields next to it. So if I set it to, let's set it to true. So that's what false looks like. It's just all one per column or row, whatever. You can, so if let's set it to true, and you'll see if I add a couple more, let's add field 2 and field 3 and just leave them all as a value. I can rerun this, and what should happen is it should create, if I do /embed, it should create an embed, and they're all next to each other. So let's say I then added another one, but this one, let's say I did this one as false. We would have an embed, embed looks a bit like this. Now it's a bit strange. You have it's sort of embed. If it's false, it can't have any next to it. So it does look a bit weird, but I normally like to set them all as false, just because I'm not a big fan of how it looks as true. But obviously you can decide however you want to do it. You might want some next to each other and some not, and stuff like that, so that is handy for it. Then we can do builder dot, so now I'm going to add a footer. So the footer is this bit of text here. So we can add a footer, and it goes example footer. And so that, we rerun it, should do /embed. That's going to give us a footer. And now something else we can do is we can also set the color. So this bit here is what the color will be. There obviously isn't much color, but obviously you can have some. So we can do builder.setColor, and this takes in a color from java.awt. So we can do, I'm going to do color.blue, and there. So we rerun it, obviously it will set a color. This is all pretty easy stuff, just like that, and we've got the color of the embed. Now obviously what's happening here is we've got for the builder, it's just adding all this stuff, and it's just the builder site that's holding the data, and then when we build it, it turns into an embed that can be sent. Obviously we can't send an embed builder, so there are obviously lots of other stuff you can do, so I'm not going to go over all of it. So you can also add to the description. So there we've got an example, and so the description is an example embed. So if I do this has been added, just to show what's going on, then we can rerun it, and when it starts up we can do /embed. You can see it just gets added. So obviously you can have, maybe, if you want the description to be something that loops, you can have a for loop or something that loops through and it adds something to the description. So we need a space because it just adds it exactly. And there's a whole lot of other stuff you can do. So there's thumbnails. If you take in a URL, a string URL or image, I'm not sure where the thumbnail is. Obviously an image just goes in the middle. Set authors. So let's say I set an author. Let's call it relaxing leg. If I was to rerun this, then we can get an author. So we can do /embed, and we've got here spy relaxing leg. And so that is pretty much embeds. They're a really good way to sort of format your bot output. So obviously it looks a lot nicer than just a bunch of text and power. It's a sort of a nice structure. And there you can have a whole lot to it. Obviously it's also an easier way to send images if you want, rather than it's a bit complicated otherwise. So that is pretty much all we're going to do today. Hope you found it helpful. Catch you in the next one.